A secret order no German general expected to receive. Execute all captured Allied commandos, no trial, no prisoners, no exceptions. Why did the generals at the High Command obey, even knowing it violated the Geneva Convention and put their own men at risk of retaliation? What was going through the mind of the most powerful man in Europe as he signed a document that would change the rules of war forever? The paper-stamped Geheim circulated only among the most trusted, while field reports kept coming in. Bridges exploding, convoys destroyed, saboteurs disappearing into the night. Generals read in stunned silence. The attacks did not stop. The hidden policy was already in force. If this revelation from a secret archive left you intrigued, leave a comment saying whether you already knew about this directive and, please, help me out. Subscribe to the channel for more behind-the-scenes stories from the Second World War, October 1942. Inside the Wolf's lair, Hitler receives reports he cannot accept. Small groups of Allied soldiers are causing disproportionate damage to German lines. They are not armies. They are teams, 5, 10 men at most. They appear out of nowhere, destroy critical targets and vanish before any response can be coordinated. Bridges explode in Norway. Fuel depots burn in occupied France. Coastal radar stations are sabotaged along the Atlantic. And the men responsible are never captured in conventional combat. They infiltrate, strike, and evaporate. Hitler reads each report with growing fury. These are not soldiers, they are terrorists. At least, that is how he begins to see them. The Geneva Convention is clear. Prisoners of war, even those captured in irregular operations, have rights. They are to be treated under international law, interrogated, yes, detained, yes. But summarily executed, no, that is forbidden. Hitler, however, is not interested in Geneva at that moment. He is interested in stopping the attacks. And the only way he sees to do that is to remove any incentive for these commandos to keep operating. If they know capture means immediate execution, perhaps they will stop. Or at least, that is what he believes. The logic is brutal. The implementation will be even worse. On the 18th of October, 1942, Hitler signs the directive. It will become known as the Commando Order. The document is short, direct, and lethal. It declares that all Allied commandos captured during military operations, in uniform or not, are to be executed immediately. No trial, no procedure, no prisoners. The order is classified Geheim, secret. Only senior officers at the Wehrmacht High Command receive copies, and even among them, the reaction is mixed. Some obey without question, others hesitate. They know they are crossing a line that cannot be uncrossed. General Alfred Jodl, the High Command's chief of operations, is present as the order is drafted. He knows the implications. He knows it violates Geneva. He knows it puts German soldiers at risk of retaliation. But he also knows that openly challenging Hitler at this stage of the war is pointless. So he signs the transmission. The order is distributed through secure channels. Field commanders receive clear instructions. Captured commandos are not to be sent to prisoner of war camps. They are to be handed over to the security services or to the Gestapo. And from there, they will not leave alive. But what really motivates Hitler to take this decision? And how did the Allies discover the secret order? The answer lies in a series of British operations that have hit German targets with devastating precision. The first is Operation Claymore in March 1941, when British commandos attacked the Lofoten Islands in occupied Norway, destroying fish oil factories used to produce glycerin, an essential component of explosives. Then comes Operation Archery in December 1941, another raid in Norway that destroys industrial facilities and captures German prisoners. These attacks are not only militarily effective, they are psychologically demoralizing. They show that German forces, even in occupied territory, are not safe. But it is Operation Chariot, in March 1942, that truly enrages Hitler. British commandos attacked the French port of Saint-Nazaire, destroying the gates of the largest dry dock on the Atlantic coast. The target is strategic, denying the German battleship Tirpitz a port where it can be repaired if damaged. The raid is a success. The dock is destroyed, but the cost is high. Many commandos are killed or captured, and during interrogations, the Germans begin to grasp the scale and sophistication of these missions. These are not improvised attacks. They are carefully planned operations, carried out by elite units trained specifically for this kind of war. Hitler interprets this as a new form of combat that does not fit within traditional rules. To him, commandos are not regular soldiers. They are saboteurs, assassins, and they should be treated as such. The Commando Order is his answer, but he underestimates one thing: the Allies will find out. And once they do, they will use it against him. The first evidence of the order comes in November 1942, after Operation Frankton. 10 Royal Marines in canoes infiltrate the port of Bordeaux, occupied France, and attach magnetic mines to German merchant ships. 6 of the Marines are captured. None are sent to prisoner of war camps. All are executed under the Commando Order. When the Allies learn of their fate, they begin to investigate. Interrogations of captured German soldiers reveal fragments of the directive. Seized documents confirm it. The order exists, and it is being enforced. The Allied response is swift. In 1943, official statements warn that any German soldier involved in the execution of prisoners of war will be prosecuted for war crimes after the conflict. Leave your like if you can see how this order changed the rules of the game in the Second World War. But the order remains in force, and it continues to be applied. In September 1943, British commandos captured in Norway are executed. In 1944, members of an Allied sabotage team captured in Italy are shot. Each execution is documented. Each report travels up the chain of command, and each time, the justification is the same: they are commandos. The order applies. Inside the high command, tension grows. Older officers, those who served in the First World War, know this will not end well. They know that, if Germany loses the war, these records will be used against them. Some try to limit the order's application. They argue that commandos captured in full uniform should be treated as regular prisoners of war. But Hitler accepts no exceptions. The order is absolute, and any officer who disobeys it risks being accused of insubordination. General Erwin Rommel, commanding German forces in France in 1944, receives the order. He reads it and, according to later accounts, expresses discomfort. Rommel is an old-school soldier. He believes in military honor. He believes in Geneva. But he is also under pressure. The Allied invasion is approaching. Tension is extreme. And disobeying Hitler at that point could be fatal. So Rommel does what many other officers do. He passes the order on, but does not enforce it enthusiastically. When commandos are captured under his command, some are sent to prisoner of war camps. Others are handed over to the Gestapo. The fate of each man depends on who captures him and where. Not all commanders have that flexibility. In the Mediterranean theatre, the order is strictly enforced. In occupied Greece, British commandos captured after sabotage operations are executed without hesitation. In Yugoslavia, the same, and in each case, the reports go back to Berlin. The order is working, or at least, that is what the reports claim. But the reality is different. Commando attacks are not stopping, they are increasing. How does this brutal policy affect German morale? And what happens when the Allies enter Germany and find the files? Inside the High Command, the Commando Order is known, but rarely spoken of openly. It is a dirty secret, a document no one wants linked to their name. But everyone knows it exists, and everyone knows there will eventually be consequences. As the tide of war begins to turn against Germany in 1943, after Stalingrad, some officers quietly start distancing themselves from the order. They do not challenge Hitler, but they no longer enforce the order as rigidly. It is a form of self-protection, an insurance policy for the post-war period. Allied intelligence, meanwhile, is compiling evidence. Each reported execution is documented. Each witness is interrogated. Every fragment of proof is filed. The Allies know that when the war ends, there will be trials, and the Commando Order will be one of the central pieces of the prosecution. German officers who signed its transmission, who enforced it, who oversaw executions, all will be held accountable. In 1945, as Allied forces enter Germany, one priority is capturing documents, military archives, operational orders, anything that can serve as evidence. In an abandoned bunker near Berlin, copies of the Commando Order are found. The document is there, stamped Geheim, signed by Hitler, transmitted by Jodl. The evidence is undeniable. Please subscribe to the channel for more declassified documents like this. The Nuremberg Trials begin in November 1945. The Commando Order is presented as evidence of war crimes. Jodl is charged. He argues that he was only following orders, that he had no choice, that challenging Hitler was impossible. The prosecutors reject this. They argue that senior officers have a duty to refuse illegal orders, that Geneva is not optional, that the Commando Order is a crime, and those who implement it are criminals. Jodl is convicted and executed in October 1946. Other officers meet similar fates. Generals who supervised executions are tried and convicted. Field commanders who handed prisoners over to the Gestapo are prosecuted. The Commando Order, which Hitler signed to stop Allied commandos, becomes one of the clearest pieces of evidence that the German regime systematically violated the laws of war. But the story does not end there. In the following years, investigators continue tracing individual cases. Families of executed commandos seek justice. Some German officers who escaped the first round of trials are later located and prosecuted. The order Hitler signed in October 1942 continues to haunt those who carried it out 4 decades after the war ends. And the commandos, they keep operating. Even knowing that capture means execution, they continue. Because for them, the mission comes first. And because they know they are fighting a regime that does not respect rules, the Commando Order does not stop them. If anything, it makes them more determined. Each successful raid is an answer. Each destroyed target is a reminder that the war will not be won only on conventional battlefields. Today, the Commando Order is studied in military academies as an example of how not to conduct war, as a warning of what happens when political leadership ignores international law, and as a reminder that, in the end, those who violate those laws will be held accountable. Hitler believed the order would stop the commandos. He was wrong. All it did was guarantee that, when the war ended, those who enforced it would face justice. The secret order, stamped Geheim and meant to remain hidden forever, became one of the most public and damning pieces of evidence in the war crimes trials. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell, and leave your like for more secret operations and declassified files from the Second World War.